Ever since the Swatch Group released their Plastic Fantastic collaboration between the legendary Blancpain and Swatch a few months ago, we've been witnessing a resurgence of interest in this iconic diver, Blancpain 50 Fathoms, and we're definitely seeing a considerably higher number of homages to this watch. And as competition heats up, down go the prices, which is great because we're getting better build quality and even use of more exotic materials, like titanium. WatchDives is one of the brands that is trying every trick in the book to win this market over. So, are they doing enough to leave the competition in the dust? Well, we have it here. Let's find out. Hello and welcome back. I must say that it is quite an interesting watch, and in their attempt to edge in front of the competition, WatchDives did a few, at the first glance, small but very defined steps, and we will try to uncover the steps as we go through this review. And probably the first thing that became apparent to me as I was filming this watch was how easy it is to wear. What I mean is that it does look somewhat different to the more common skin diver shape, and yet the combination of form factor, the strap, the vintage curvature of this cool boxed crystal have slowly but surely grown on me. I can see myself wearing this watch on a hot summer day on this cool nylon strap, and if I need to go swimming or hiking for that matter, I need not to worry. This is a very dependable diver and it will be just fine no matter what I do. It kind of has that feeling of adventure and dependability, sort of you do what you need to do and I will be there ticking away minding my own business until you need me. I'm not sure how much credit for this goes to WatchDives though, well, I guess some, and I will explain in a moment. Now, I usually leave the price discussion for the end of the video, however, this time it is probably better to bring it forward, because this is one of those little but important steps where WatchDives is trying to outpace the competition. But before we talk about the price, a quick disclaimer: for full transparency, WatchDives sent me this watch for review and I get to keep it, hence there was a pop-up at the start of this video. On my part, as usual, I'll do my best to share a comprehensive review of this watch, and all the links where you can find this diver will be of course in the description of this video. Do check them out if you're after a sharp deal. So, the price. It is not very common that we see the price tag well under $100 on the 50 Fathoms homages, so it is quite refreshing to see very competitive pricing here from WatchDives. The actual model that I have here for review can be purchased for around $79 from WatchDives website, and I'm factoring in the $20 flash sale discount. Now, this watch also comes in an upgraded version of a box sapphire crystal, which is more expensive, however, taking into account a considerably higher price of manufacturing a box sapphire crystal, asking $119 seems like a quite fair deal. And looking at WatchDives' official store on AliExpress, where WatchDives has a well-established presence, well, we get very similar prices, which do fluctuate a bit between the sales. As I mentioned earlier, I will provide all the links to the product listings in the description of this video. Now, dimensions. It is another area where WatchDives implemented some of its ingenuity to make this watch more versatile. This diver measures 40mm in diameter and 48mm lug-to-lug, making it a very wearable watch on pretty much most wrist sizes. The thing is that most homages to 50 Fathoms do tend to stick to the original size of this diver, which results in a lug-to-lug distance of 52mm. And while 52mm probably looks right at home on top of a diver's wetsuit, it doesn't look as great on the wrists under 7 inches in circumference. So having a slightly more compact dimensions on this WatchDives diver makes it much more versatile, and I will show how it wears on my about 7-inch wrist and on the 6¼ wrist throughout this video. Now, looking at the rest of the dimensions, we have 14.2mm case height, out of which around 3mm is actually taken by this lovely boxed crystal. As you can see, the actual case without the crystal is just under 11mm tall. And we have 19mm lug width, which sounds like a bit of an odd size, however, it looks like it is perfectly fine to use 20mm straps here. As a matter of fact, the strap supplied by WatchDives is 20mm wide, and it looks just right. And this watch weighs 87 grams. Looking at the case, and we get very familiar lines of a vintage iconic diver. Sandblasted finish is well applied, it is consistent and underlines that this is a purposeful tool watch. We still get very well defined facets, and there are even subtle bevels that run on both flanks of the case. We have unguarded, screw-down signed crown, again in line with the vintage design. I have here an early version of this watch with a case made out of stainless steel, and at 87 grams it feels and wears on the wrist quite comfortably. However, as I mentioned earlier, there is now also an upgraded version of this watch, which for a bit more money gets us a titanium construction, which I assume will be even lighter. Turning the case around, and we are met with a prominent screw-on caseback. It is a sterile caseback which also has sandblasted finish, and the prominent proportions of this caseback again remind us that this is a tool watch, and it has a declared water resistance of 300 meters, so yes, at the very least we should be able to swim in it and even potentially do some skin diving. This version of this watch has mineral crystal with K1 scratch-resistant coating. I must say that even though sapphire of course has better scratch resistance, this mineral crystal is very clear and it deals with reflections really well. And I really like the subtle distortion that it creates. It is boxed and double dome crystal, so it goes very well with the whole vintage diver aesthetics of this watch. WatchDives used a Seiko NH35 movement to power this watch, a very popular choice for budget watches. It is a reliable and dependable automatic mechanical caliber that beats at 21,600 vibrations per hour and has about 41 hours of power reserve. One thing to point out here, an NH35 movement has a date function which will result in so-called ghost position of the crown. Not a big deal at this price point. We have 120 clicks unidirectional bezel here, as we would expect on a proper dive watch. The bezel on my K model watch has a glossy ceramic insert with the lumed markers. I should point out that the sapphire crystal version of this watch also has ceramic bezel insert, however, that insert has matte finish. The bezel grip is very comfortable and the resistance is good, so no complaints here. Now, testing the bezel action, it is okay, however, there is a slight backplay and it feels a bit springy, and probably somewhat hollow sound doesn't help it either. Okay, to be fair, the rotation resistance is very consistent, the rotation is smooth and tolerances on the bezel are very decent, so in short, it will get the job done, even though it is not the most crisp bezel I handled on the channel. And here is how it sounds. The dial on this diver looks really good and legible, which is great, and as we will see shortly, the WatchDives didn't skimp on the lume either. Of course, as with a lot of homages, no prizes for originality, however, the execution is pretty good. We have printed minute track as well as printed WatchDives logo and wording above the 6 o'clock marker. All these printed markings are done in white color, which creates a subtle contrast with our markers, which are painted with a lume and have a vintage-looking patina color, which also nicely matches the color of the lumed markings on the bezel. We have pencil-style hands here. The hands are well proportioned and are painted white for maximum legibility on the black dial background. We also have a generous amount of lume applied to the hands. And as I promised, here is the lume footage. And I must say that for a watch under 100 bucks, this is a very solid performance and something that other brands in the same price segment definitely should take notice of. In regards to the bracelets, we basically have only NATO and Zulu type straps as an option here. Because of the fairly large gap between the case and the spring bars, the usage of normal two-piece straps might not look the best. Okay, we can also try boon straps here, but then 19mm lug size is not usually very common. However, the fact that 20mm NATO and Zulu straps are perfectly suitable here, I don't particularly see any major disadvantage in 19mm lug width. I have plenty of 20mm NATO style straps, so I'm kind of sorted. I can really wear a different one every day if I want to. So what's my verdict? Well, there are a couple of points here that I mentioned throughout this review that could potentially be improved, and I am talking about maybe more crispier bezel action and potentially usage of NH38 movement here with no date. But even then, those are not deal breakers by any means. On the positive side, this is a heck of a package. Very competitively priced, we have sapphire crystal option for additional reasonable charge, something I always ask on the mineral crystal timepieces. The Lume performance is very good, 300 meters of declared water resistance, and overall very attractive and practical timepiece. What are your thoughts? Well, do let us know in the comments. And for more cool dive watches, check out my playlist. I'll put the link on the screen somewhere around here. And of course, don't forget to hit that like button if you found this review useful, and do join us by clicking that subscribe button over there. It is free, and yes, it does help the channel. And as always, thank you for watching, take care, and I will see you in the next video.